My name is Miguel. I'm a chef here in Miami, Cuban-American born. Been very fortunate to work in a lot of great restaurants around the world. And today we're going to be tasting mojo. For those of you in Salina, Kansas, mojo, essentially is the Spanish translation of to wet, to mojar. And here in Miami, we're very particular about our mojo. We typically use it for marinating pork or chicken, particularly around the holidays. You'll see it a lot. You'll see it in a lot of Cuban restaurants as a sauce for yuca, which is cassava, or maybe for plantain chips. But not a lot of people in Miami actually know what mojo is or where it's from. So about 4 years ago, I spent some time in Spain working at a lot of restaurants out there, and I went to the Canary Islands, particularly in Tenerife. And Tenerife, the Canary Islands, is supposedly the home of mojo, right? So these are just some books that I picked up. I mean, you can see this is, for a chef, this is a dream, right? An entire book about mojo. Here are two more. And mojo in the Canary Islands is very different from here in Miami. So over there, it's typically done with peppers, vinegar, oil, garlic, and then they can put a bunch of different, seasonings on it, right? So it could be herbs, there can be cumin, there can be cheese, there could be nuts, and saffron, tomato, and it really just depends on what you want to use it for, right? So sometimes they'll use it for bread, sometimes they'll use it for potatoes, sometimes they'll use it for seafood, for meat. So here are just some samples that I actually brought back. I wouldn't eat these are super expired. They're from 2016, they expired in 2018. But just so you could get an idea, this is called almogrote. So it's a goat cheese type of mojo. You have here a mojo verde, which is made with parsley and green peppers. Mojo picon, which is the most famous one, which is made with like a slightly spicy, sweet red pepper. And then this is called savia de palma. Not really sure what that is. But anyways, just so you can get an idea, different colors, different shapes, sizes, and everything like that. What's the main difference between that and mojos that we have here in Miami and in the Caribbean? Hundreds of years ago, right? When Columbus and all these explorers were coming to the New World, they were used to this, right? Peppers, vinegars, oil. Why? Because they had olives to make olive oil, and they had wine to make vinegar. Here in the New World, we didn't have that, right? So I can only imagine, this is just my presumption, that when they got here, they said, well, we don't have vinegar, what can we use? Okay, there's citrus. We don't have olive oil, what do we have? We have pigs, get the lard, right? That's our fat component. So you'll see a lot of mojos in Miami will have citrus, garlic, cumin, and sometimes they'll have lard. How does that function? It's really just a cooking vessel, if you will. The fat of the lard or the oil will cook the garlic, because otherwise it's kind of unpleasant to eat raw garlic, depending on the application, right? If it was a sauce for plantain chips, for example, or a sauce for some yuca, cassava, you'd want that garlic to be cooked. However, if you're gonna make a marinade, right? If I'm gonna marinate a chicken breast, or I'm gonna marinate some pork to cook it in the cajachina, you don't necessarily, in my opinion, want that lard in there, right? So it's more of just a citrus marinade. In the Dominican Republic, in Puerto Rico, they also have different kinds of mojos as well. So what is different about store-bought mojo versus something that I would make, by myself in my restaurant? A store-bought mojo is going to be made most likely from concentrate. It's all about reducing the cost of the export. Oranges and citrus juices, these are worldwide exported things. It's a commodity. So most of this stuff is made in Brazil, and oranges. They'll squeeze them over there, and then they'll pasteurize them, which means that they boil the heck out of it, and they turn it into a paste, right? In wine, they would call that a must. Because it's been boiled, all of the volatile aromas, everything that makes it, smell really good, that stuff is gone. It's now cheaper to export that paste, right? Because all the water weight is gone. Companies, they'll get that paste, and then they'll flavor it however they want, right? For some markets, they'll put more sugar, they'll put less sugar, and then they'll dilute it with water. And by diluting it with water, number one, you get better yield. They add in artificial flavorings, and they add in a lot of acid, right? So if you ever look at the back of one of these bottles and the ingredients, it'll say citric acid added, artificial flavors, natural flavors added back in. With that in mind, we're gonna look into these 7 mojos. My pain is gonna be your pleasure, hopefully, because If my dentist saw me doing this, she'd probably freak out because I'm gonna wipe the enamel off my teeth. We'll look at the color first, okay? Then we'll look at the clarity, right? Is it dark, is it light? I'm also gonna look at the viscosity, right? So just by looking here, I could tell that this one probably has xanthan gum inside, which is a natural thickener, kind of like a cornstarch. I'm gonna smell it, see, you know, the aroma, and give it a taste. Here we go with the first one, a little sip of water. Wish me luck. All right, so mojo number one, I see viscosity is very liquid, right? So I'm not anticipating any kind of xanthan gum or anything like that in here. As you could see, all these little particles at the bottom, this is probably your garlic, your cumin, your oregano, your spices. Because they're at the bottom, like sediment, and they're not floating, that means to me that it's a little bit more natural. Kind of like if I were to do it, that's what it would look like. If it had a lot of xanthan gum, this stuff would be floating in the middle, like a salad dressing. Right off the bat, that's very classic Cuban-y. I smell, you know, for sure, like that Seville orange and cumin. First thing I got right off the bat was a lot of salt. I mean, it's supposed to be, right? This is a marinade probably for pork. It's quite salty. The finish was slightly bitter. I didn't really pick up any sweetness on this at all. Your standard Cuban marinade, right? I would use this. This is a lot of cumin as well, I detect, but it's not overpowering. I think the cumin's pretty balanced. Moving on to mojo number two. I see that this one's already a lot lighter in color. So I'm suspecting that this has less cumin, right? This dark color mostly comes from the cumin. I'm suspecting that this is a little bit more, how would I say, citrus juice forward. Viscosity is pretty liquid as well. You could see a nice little amount of sediment down here. I'm thinking that this one's probably more of like a garlic powder, oniony powder type of thing as opposed to this one. Yeah, definitely. This one has a much more pronounced garlic nose than this one. This one was a little bit more like citrusy, cuminy. This one's definitely more garlic. Wow, okay, interesting. So first, right off the bat, the salt on this, much less. However, the garlic and I'm guessing onion powder. This is kind of like what it tastes like to me. Your abuela's pantry that has garlic powder and onion powder. That's what I'm picking up off of here. Very, very strong garlicky forward, not a lot of salt. Pretty good, you know, I'm not gonna lie. For reference, I personally like mojo that's very strong and powerful. I like it with cumin, I like it a lot of garlic, I like a lot of everything. All right, so this guy, interesting, okay? Just look at the comparing. You see how on this guy, all the stuff is at the bottom, all the sediment is down. Here I see that everything is kind of like evenly distributed, right? You have garlic specks, you have what looks like oregano specks. I would guess that this probably has some sort of xanthan gum inside of it. But what that does is that it makes it a little bit thicker viscosity wise. And number two, it allows all this stuff to float so it's evenly distributed around. So in theory, that should be better. Okay, the aroma on this one's very different. You know, it's definitely garlic, and you could tell that there's actual garlic chunks. I'm picking up less of a natural citrus out of this. I could be wrong, but this to me seems like the citrus is a little bit more manufactured. It might also be just a bias because of the xanthan gum. Definitely, even the viscosity in my mouth, it feels a lot thicker. Kind of like, imagine like you're drinking water and then you drink cream. Okay, that's what the xanthan gum does. I mean, it's good. It'll do its job, but the citrus doesn't. It feels forced. It feels very artificial. I wouldn't recommend that. All right, this one looks like a spicy señorita, so we're gonna see what that's all about. I've never seen a mojo like this, so this one's definitely got my eye. There's little red flakes in here, like chili flakes or something. I'm not sure what Nick is trying to do to me, but we're gonna find out. The viscosity on this guy, just like this, right? You can see how it's pretty thick in there. All the little flakes are kind of suspended in the air. The color, as you can see as well, is very different. I'm assuming that this comes from a red pepper of sorts that they probably blended in there. Aroma-wise, okay, yeah, there's definitely some red pepper in here. Not a lot of garlic, not a lot of citrus, a little bit more pepper forward, with a little bit of citrus in the back as well. What is that? Okay, very thick in the mouth, like very, very viscous. Has the slightest little bit of spice at the back of my throat here. So usually when you're tasting spice and vinegar and acid, that's something that you'll pick up right here, and it's perfectly balanced though. You know, if it was out of balance, my throat would be on fire. I would even suspect that there's probably sugar in here, which is not natural for mojo at all, to balance out that spice and that acid. The citrus in this one also feels forced. I mean, the flavor is good, but it's not something that I would go bonkers for. I wouldn't call this traditional at all. This one's looking pretty intense. As you can see, the color on these two is pretty similar. I'm also suspecting just the slightest little bit of the xanthan gum, right? These are called hydrocolloids in chef's language. So, because everything is suspended a little bit. However, it's not as thick as these other two. Definitely a lot of cumin, oregano is what I'm guessing in here. Not, you know, it's a little bit thick. Yeah, for sure. This guy is definitely cumin loaded, which I love. I wasn't expecting that. Okay, so that was strange. So the viscosity on this, the mouthfeel, very creamy. Okay, so we've kind of like increased creaminess as we've gone. I wasn't expecting that at all. The oregano powder, the cumin is all kind of suspended in there perfectly, whereas in this one, everything was settled. The flavor though, not my favorite. It almost smells like stale bread. Kind of strange. I'm not sure why I get that. It's almost like a plasticky smell. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend that at all. There's really nothing characteristic about this. I don't get like a garlic or cumin or nothing. It's just like thick viscous liquid with like this funny aftertaste. This guy looks like he's loaded. All right, so also looking here, viscosity for sure. This guy has some sort of xanthan gum in there. You can see all the little flakes of everything floating around. Garlic, oregano for sure. Not as much cumin, right? You could see by the color as these other ones. Okay, yeah, this one definitely has a very nice citrus aroma. I would say that this actually has the prettier, I could say floral citrus aroma compared to these other ones so far. It could be something like a grapefruit extract, right? Sometimes these people will do that. They'll put like essential oils of grapefruit or essential oils of oranges or lime or anything like that just to inject it in there, right? Because like I said, remember this stuff is pasteurized citrus juice. They boil it out. All the flavors are mostly gone, the volatile aromas. So you have to inject something back in there. So that's what I'm suspecting that they did here. Whoa, okay. Yeah, that's nice. This is actually very nice. Really nice acid on this, okay? Salt is like right on point. The texture, I was expecting it to be worse. I was expecting it to be like really thick and mucousy, but it's actually kind of nice. Like I think they hit the right balance as far as the xanthan gum in there. The garlic is nice as well. And it's kind of like one of those things where it's what you smell is what you get, and then you get even a little extra surprise. So the sides of my tongue, above my mouth right now are watering like crazy. I got this little bit of acid right here at the bottom of my throat. So the acid on this is perfect, it's beautiful. And it makes sense because like I said, it smells very citrusy and floral. All right, so now we're gonna go to this last one. This one, the color looks completely different from all these other ones. It's almost more of like a lemonade lime type of juice. A lot of xanthan gum in here. All these little bubbles, to me, that's a major sign the xanthan gum that was stuck in there, they blitz it around. And if it's too much, it makes these bubbles, right? It's essentially capturing air is what it's doing. And you could tell also by all the chunks of garlic that are all floating in the air. Color and viscosity, not really my favorite, but let's see. Very floral as well, citrus. Interestingly enough, if you've ever had a real naranja agria, okay, which is the bitter orange, this one, in my opinion, has the closest smell. To me, this one was a little bit more of a grapefruity, okay, floral, orange blossom type. This one smells like naranja agria. Let's see what it tastes like. Very unique. Okay, so the viscosity is not appealing to me at all. I mean, this is like drinking shampoo. I don't know how else to describe that. However, I think that this one captures the essence of naranja agria the best. The garlic is right there. I wish that the garlic flavor was more pronounced. Not a lot of salt, not a lot of acid though, okay? So my mouth is not tingling in the least at all when I try this. Let me just one more time. It's kind of bland, okay? As far as the acid goes, not very strong. So as far as like a marinade is concerned, this isn't really gonna do much, okay? So the one that has the high acid, which I think was this one, that will marinate your pork or your chicken, right? You want that acid to get in there and start to break down the muscle fibers. You want the salt, through osmosis to get in there deep into the muscle fibers. So if I had to rank, oh, that's terrible. All right, so moment of truth, okay? Who is, I guess, the king of the store market super brand mojos? I actually liked this one the most. Kind of surprised me. I think that it had the best acid, the best aromas, the best salt, ratio. The garlic was nice and pronounced. The only thing that kind of turned me off here a little bit was, like I said, the viscosity of it. I wasn't really a fan with that, but I'm willing to, to give up on that for all the other positives that it had. After that, I would say probably this one was my second favorite. It was a little bit too salty for me. However, I think it's the best representation of like a classic mojo. Maybe something more along the lines of what a chef would make in a restaurant or a chef might make in Cuba. Really nice. Viscosity is actually, I liked it a lot because it was very liquid. It wasn't forced like this other stuff. All the stuff at the bottom was very cumin-y, which I liked. This one, I would say, was my number 3. Number 4 was this one. This one was a curveball. I've never seen this one before. I did like the flavor a lot, actually. The viscosity, again, a little bit of a turnoff, but that peppery thing was nice. And that actually would probably be the closest one to our mojo picon here from the Canary Islands. They're very different because I've tried the real thing, but that'll probably be the closest. But in terms of like a traditional Cuban mojo, this isn't really it. I'm just liking this because of the flavor. This one's number 5. This is the one that had the weird bready smell. Number 6 was this one. Positives on this one, really nice, kind of naranja agria, more traditional aroma and flavor. However, the viscosity was horrible and not much acid on there. And then after that, we're finally gonna go to this guy. My number 3 is my number 7. So that concludes our mojo tasting. All right, Nick, what do you got? All right. So yeah, as I anticipated, this is the Goya, which I kind of anticipated that. Just because I've seen this before, I've cooked with it before. I used to use it a lot in the restaurant. So where's the ingredients? Water, salt. Remember, like I said, it was very salty. It's the number 2 ingredient. Orange juice concentrate, lime concentrate, garlic, onion, which is not normal, spices, sugar. Okay, la lechonera. No way, huh? These commercials are great, by the way. La lechonera natural mojo all-purpose. What did I give this guy? This was my number 3. Water, vinegar, garlic, salt, sugar, onion. You could also tell that this guy is very liquid, right? There's no xanthan gum. It doesn't even say it back here. So, this is a good, I'm pretty sure they're local brand. Yeah, made in Miami, Florida. So good job, La Lechonera. What is this one? Conchita mojo criollo for chicken, pork, and beef marinade. Let me see, I gave this guy last place. Sorry, Conchita. Water, vinegar, salt, orange juice concentrate, lemon juice. Yeah, there's no reason to have lemon juice in here. Garlic, onion, spices, MSG, xanthan gum, preservatives. Yeah, no thank you. Sorry, my abuela was named Conchita, but I am very sorry. So this one was a curveball for sure. Number 4, Laurie's urban garlic, huh? Okay, very interesting. 15-minute marinade, water, vinegar, lemon juice, salt, sugar, garlic, cornstarch, xanthan gum, red bell pepper. So I called out the bell pepper. It has thyme, basil. Interesting. This is obviously not a traditional Cuban mojo at all, but I mean, this is a great marinade. If I lived in, in what was this town again?
Salina, Kansas.
In Salina, Kansas, and you couldn't find one of these, this would be a great substitute. So good job, Loris. What's this? Publix mojo marinade. Okay. Reconstituted citrus blend of water, lemon, orange, grapefruit, vinegar, dehydrated garlic, and dehydrated onion. I can see that. Xanthan gum preservatives. Not bad, What did I give this guy? He was my number 5. Yeah, he stayed right where he was, number 5. This was my winner, and I'm not surprised at all. Badia. No artificial coloring, no sugar, orange and grapefruit juice. Remember when I said it was very floral? That's the grapefruit juice. Vinegar, dehydrated vegetables. It's actually very smart. But when you put a dehydrated vegetable in there, in theory, you're already concentrating the flavor of the vegetable, right? So if I take garlic and I dehydrate it, all the water is gone. It's gonna have more flavor in theory, and it's kind of a good way to get past, it's a cost-efficient way to do this. Salt, spices, herbs, bitter orange concentrate. That's probably what gave it the floral aroma. Xanthan gum and some other stuff. This one was my favorite, which actually surprised me. Good job, man. Good job. This one, Iberia mojo para yuca y tostones. I could see that. This is something that you would put on your plantain chips, on your Christmas Eve yuca, right? I wouldn't put any of this on the yuca for a Christmas Eve, right? These are all strictly for marinating. But your yuca Christmas Eve or your plantain chips, you would use this. I would even heat it up, actually. I wouldn't serve this cold. Water, vinegar, garlic, sugar, MSG. Come on, man. Xanthan gum, bitter orange, oregano, some other stuff. If I had to do, a mojo for my yuca and for my plantain chips, I mean, it's literally the easiest thing in the world. It takes 5 minutes to do. You get some garlic, you chop it, get your naranja agria, your citrus juices, put it together, heat up some oil or some lard in a pan, and when it starts to get hot, you pour that on top of this and cook out the rawness of the garlic. All right, so that concludes our mojo tasting. My teeth enamel pain is your gain, hopefully. So again, this would be my winner. This would be my number 2. And yeah, hopefully you enjoyed. Hope you learned something.